Very good evening to you. We start with breaking news. In the last few moments, the family of Lord Greville Janner have confirmed his death at the age of 87. The former Labour peer was suffering from dementia and had been ruled this April unfit to stand trial over allegations of child sexual abuse. Well, Sky's Tom Parmenter joins me on the line. Tom, there's much to talk about with Lord Janner. Let's start with these issues that the CPS decided in April this year to pull away from prosecution. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, his case has been very controversial and perhaps almost unprecedented in terms of the scrutiny of his health. His family this evening have confirmed in a statement that he died peacefully earlier today after a long illness and that he will be deeply missed. They have always strenuously denied any wrongdoing on behalf of Greville Janner, who was an MP through the 70s, 80s and 90s in Leicestershire. His case involved a series of allegations, 22 counts in all that he was facing that dated from 1963 to 1998, allegations of indecent assaults, the majority of which were in relation to underage children at the time, and therefore very serious allegations. The CPS initially decided that they would not prosecute him. Such was the backlash that they changed that decision to go ahead, and then there were a series of court appearances this year, which were quite unusual, really, because he was actually ordered to come to court so that the court could make an assessment of how far his dementia was in affecting his ability to take part in legal proceedings. And just earlier this month, the High Court ruled that the 87-year-old did have advanced and disabling dementia, and that meant that he would not be able to stand trial, and a trial of the facts in this case was penciled in for next year, next spring. It's unclear with this development tonight of the peer's passing as to whether or not that will go ahead, but certainly many of the alleged victims will certainly want to see a trial of the facts, as was planned, to try to at least establish in a court of law what happened. But of course, Lord Janner was not going to take part in those proceedings, and his family have confirmed his death at the age of 87.
Tom, thanks very much indeed. Tom Palmer to get there. Let's get more on this now with Sky's chief political correspondent, John Craig, who's in Westminster. A whirlwind of course, notoriety surrounding the last few years of Lord Janner's life. He was also quite an active member of the Labour Party in his own career as well.
He was a fairly flamboyant and outspoken Labour backbencher, despite being an MP for so long, and indeed a barrister, a QC. He was never a minister under any of the Labour leaders whom he served. He became MP for Leicester North West in 1970, which of course was the election won by Edward Heath. Then in 74, he moved to the safer seat of Leicester West. That's the seat currently held by the Labour leadership contender Liz Kendall. It's the safest Labour seat in Leicester, and it's the only one that stayed Labour when Margaret Thatcher won a landslide in 83. So he held that seat. He was a big campaigner for Jewish causes. He was, at the time of when he was an MP, he was president of the Board of Deputies of British Jews. Very outspoken on those issues in Parliament, and he was in the House of Commons until 1997. He was always speaking from the backbenches on international issues, Middle East issues, issues affecting the Jewish community, but also on legal and home affairs matters as well, which was his professional background. Became a peer in 1997, the year that Tony Blair became Prime Minister, and was still fairly active in the House of Lords. Now, the controversy, which of course has swirled around him in recent years, I can recall not that, well, I'm trying to think when it was. It was about the late 80s, early 90s. He was named in a court case and staged an adjournment debate where he made a passionate defence against various things that had been said in court. And I remember the Labour benches being packed with supporters. So he'll be recalled as a courageous and outspoken politician, but of course it's the events of the last few years that have really, been very controversial. He maintained his innocence, but of course he was involved in legal proceedings, as we've heard. But he'll be remembered as an MP for 27 years, one of the more active Labour MPs in the House of Commons, and a colourful MP as well.
John, thanks very much indeed. John Craig there in Westminster for us. We're joined now by Liz Dux, who is a specialist